Giants fans, what is going on? Thank you for your patience as we slowly had a few technical issues just going through YouTube. And I do apologize because we have our special guest in the house, Mark from Barbados. Mark, we always appreciate you. You know, you're a regular fan of the show, obviously, but we've had you on a couple times before, and you bring a lot of analytical knowledge to the game. And so when me and Truth were talking the offseason, we're like, hey, we definitely want to have an episode where we have Mark on the show. So couldn't thank you enough for being on here.
I appreciate the invite, guys. I'm sorry that my presence has caused some malfunction. But,
it's all on you.
Yes, that's right. We'll pinpoint on you. Right. But and then of course we got Truth. Truth, you are the Grand Wizard when it comes to the draft, my friend.
Thank you.
What is this? Episode 5, season 2? Is that what we're on right now?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, something like that, right? Well,
it's a good one today. Good one today. Cornerbacks.
Yeah, we have a good one today because it's kind of similar to what we were dealing with last week. The safeties felt like it was pretty deep. Looking at the corners this year, feeling the same way.
Very deep.
I'll start with you. I mean, how many cornerbacks do you anticipate going in the first round?
I think first round we could see 6 cornerbacks going, and I mentioned earlier about 16 or more in the first 2 rounds. First 3 rounds of the draft, first 2 days. It's very deep. I think it's the overall deepest position in this year's draft.
Wow, even more so than safeties last week, huh?
Oh yeah, I believe so. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then Mark, I mean, how would you rate the need of cornerbacks for the Giants this year? How would you rate the current cornerback room? And then, of course, where do you see the Giants taking cornerbacks in 2023?
Well, let's see. I would say that the cornerback room the Giants have now is sort of unfinished because we've got Dory Jackson, who's been very good. I think people don't realize how good he's been. I mean, people try to just pinpoint him about interceptions, but he's a great tackler. He's actually improved in that category, and he's very good cover corner. But we've had key injuries. We had injury to Robinson, so we really don't know what he's about. Whether he can play outside, whether he has to play inside. We've also got a rookie in Flott, so we don't know. I mean, he looks good. He could be coming along, and what's the guy playing nickel now? What's his name? He's a bit grabby.
Holmes.
Sorry?
Donald Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes. There you go. Right. He's a bit grabby, I find, and always trying to catch up. So I think it's really unfinished. So I think the cornerback need is major in for us. And it's great there's a deep draft with cornerbacks. So even if you don't get one in the first round, we could snag in the second and third round. We've got 2 picks in the third round. So I think somewhere along there, I think we're going to actually probably maybe try to pick 2 cornerbacks throughout the draft. I believe so. Anyway, yeah.
I could definitely see us taking 2 cornerbacks in this draft. Yes. Of course, it all depends on what he does in free agency. If he gets some more depth there, like he probably will do, Shane. So we got to see.
Yeah, we got to see. And the other thing to add to is that we don't know whether they're going to restructure Dory Jackson. So that makes it even more interesting. But he's got 1 more year left on his contract. So that could make it even more interesting.
And we don't know if Donald Holmes is going to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know. He's a very, I think it's like a 2.7, 2.5 million cap savings with, I think, very limited dead money.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you could save some money there.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't feel like this position is going to be addressed too much with free agency versus the draft. First of all, I just think, again, it's so loaded with talent that, like you said, Mark, I mean, we could draft likely 2 of these guys, right, and really have a solid chance of having 2 guys that are good enough to start, in my opinion. Of course, it depends where they're drafting, but yeah, we're doing 13 guys tonight. We typically do 10, and I still feel like there's 2 more guys that we could have done, 2 or 3 more guys.
Oh, easily.
Starters. But, of course, we have time constraints. I mean, we could have even done a part 2 if we really wanted to. But, why don't we get right into the blue chips. Mark, you're going to go over 5 guys right now.
Okay.
And the one that we're looking forward to the most at this time, in my personal opinion, is Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. Now, Illinois had an unbelievable defense this past year, especially in regards to the fact that they're typically a bottom feeder in the Big Ten, but their defense was scary. They had a very good defense. But tell me about Devon Witherspoon. Tell me what you like about this guy.
Well, he's he's very aggressive. He's really aggressive and physical as a player. He's 6 feet, 180 pounds, so he doesn't quite play like that. But
Sure.
He's a man coverage guy. Not as good in zone, probably more man coverage. But he can play both. I think he's kind of versatile. He can play both inside and outside. And also he's got some special teams experience as well. I think that's good as well when you throw that into the mix. So Witherspoon, to me, he's a guy that's definitely going to go in the first round for sure. And he's got a lot of these corners, to be honest with you, have a lot of flexibility, a lot of them. When you go right down to the line, they're all, they're all very gifted, and they're all fast. And and he's part of that group. He definitely is, but he's very aggressive as a corner, very aggressive.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, this is something true. Tell me if you're feeling the same way. One thing I've noticed over the safeties and the cornerbacks this year is how aggressive they are, which is incredible because, if you watch the Giants last year, it looks like they're not doing a very good job executing the tackles. We had, I forget who was on the show that came on and said we're actually doing one of the best. It's just there's a league-wide trend right now.
Paul Dottino, wasn't that Paul?
It was Paul Dottino. And, the tackling's just declined overall. But this is even last year we were doing this show, the corners and the safeties did not look this aggressive. This is extremely impressive what I'm seeing. Again, Witherspoon's that kind of guy. He's, it's that press man, and they're really going to get to the wide receivers here.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very good, talented, and deep cornerback class. And Witherspoon is arguably the top tier of that group. Like Mark mentioned about him, he has all the intangibles. And look, we just saw the combine. If everybody's watching, these guys put on a show.
Yeah.
In the combine, they really did. If you had to question these guys' speed and their ability to move and change directions, all your questions were answered in this combine. Very impressive showing by a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, there's only a few positions where, I feel like at the combine, you can really show your skill set as much, but cornerback is just one of them, right? These measurables are extremely important with how, the performance is going to be. Other positions, look, I'll even say for quarterback, they're kind of going through passing drills there that I don't think are as telling as cornerback drills. Obviously, these guys go, like we said, it's a lot of times to get to know the players for the execs and the organizations of football, but corners, this is a very important event. And you're right, a lot of them showed out like they did on the field this past year.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say, Tudo, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show, as always. All right, so we went over Witherspoon. A next guy that's got high ratings, obviously, another Penn State player. They produce a lot of talent regularly, is Joey Porter Jr. So, Mark, what was it that you had on Joey Porter Jr.? What are your overall opinions of this guy?
6'2", 195 pounds. Extremely long, his wingspan. So that's a advantage he has, especially at the line of scrimmage. So he's a very good tackler. Again, that's true for like all of these guys. Very good in man. He's really smooth in terms of flipping his hips and sinking his hips. Backpedaling, that sort of thing. Very versatile, definitely a smart player, understands the game, can diagnose things well. Again, a really good player. Again, aggressive, maybe not as aggressive as Witherspoon, but certainly another very good player, another first rounder in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he comes from a pedigree. His dad played with the Steelers, and a lot of times when you see these guys who had dads playing in the NFL, they come up and they're very intelligent on the football field. They play smart. They have very good IQ, football IQ, because they were trained by their dad. They grew up around football, so it's part of their DNA.
And that advice that they get from their dads, I feel like the whole way. We just had Isaiah Hodgins on the other night. For everybody who wants to go back and look through, but he talks about having a dad who played in the National Football League, and how that affects decisions like college choosings and right. At first, he gets the Michigan offer, and then he, if he didn't have his dad to advise him on it, he probably would have gone there. But they did a full-blown pros and cons list, and it actually turned out Oregon State worked out to be better in their favor. There's a lot that goes into it, and I'm sure when it comes to the draft, when it comes to your mindset for training camp, when it comes to how you have to look at things, these are huge. This is stuff that his dad had to go through. And by the way, his dad was a phenomenal football player. I'm surprised. Porter was a good player. He was a linebacker, though, so I really do wonder where the speed came from. But yeah, I know you said he's not that aggressive, but it's funny because that's what his dad was actually known for.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, I'm not saying he's not aggressive. I'm just saying he's really not as aggressive as Witherspoon. That's probably, at least that's my take on it. But but he's definitely sort of a ball hog out there for sure. The kind of system we have, he would fit really well in that system. Press man, heavy system, it would be great. I mean, so he would be, but I doubt very much if he's going to be at 25. I can't
see him making it past. Even making it past the Steelers at 17. Yeah. I'll be shocked. Yeah. But
if he's there for the Steelers, I mean that almost sounds like a shoo-in. They need the position too.
Right.
Real quick, just getting a couple more shout-outs real here. Peter's in the house. Peter, what's going on, man? Chris, obviously always appreciate when you stop by, brother. All right, Mark. I mean, another Big Ten player. We just started off. That's 3 in a row. Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Now, Maryland is not a football powerhouse, but they have competition that would be the exact same as what Ohio State has to play, right? And so here's a guy that I know is very athletic. But what did you have on him?
Right. So so Banks, no, maybe he's a guy that could fall to us. For sure, that's a possibility. He's a pretty big guy, but he's really smooth with it. He's not, he's very smooth. I mean, he's 6'2", 205 pounds. So that's a pretty big cornerback, right? Good both in man and zone. I mean, we're going to repeat the same things, I think.
Yeah.
Throughout the night, because I mean, these guys are just versatile. Yeah. I mean, as I said, he's smooth. So flipping his hips, sinking his hips, all those things, he's all good at that. The one knock on him probably is that he's a little inconsistent with his technique, and that can get him into a little bit of trouble, and that's probably why he might fall a little bit. But he's really good, and then with proper coaching, and that becomes consistent, who knows? So again, a really good prospect, likely to fall into later, I think, first round, possibly second round. So he may very well be there for us.
Well, I got to say, I always like it when the worst thing about a player at any position is the technique, because that can always get worked on. So you telling me that is music to my ears. I mean, if he falls to us, late first or even the early second, I'm more than happy with that. Even if it takes a year to kind of get him going, that's ideal. What you don't want to hear is it's a speed thing. It's a football IQ thing. Those are things that are challenging to overcome. But clearly it sounds like he's a pretty smart athlete. Yes. And so he's got the fundamentals, and it's just technique at this point. He may not explode on day one.
Sorry, say it again.
He just may not be a guy that's ready to go day one.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, with a good training camp and whatever else, who knows? I mean, you get the right coaches around you. We've seen what coaching does, right, in the last year. Yeah, so sure. I mean, you get the right coaching around you, and we've got a really good DBs coach, right, in Henderson. I mean, he's excellent. And Wink thinks he's the best in the business, right? Yeah. So I mean, and when you think about it, the amount of injuries we had, in that position last year and was still able to maintain. I mean, so there you go. Coaching makes a big difference.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think this kid is actually his stock rose after the combine. I think he'll definitely be there at 1. I don't think he'll be there at 2. I'll be honest with you. I think he'll be taken within the top 50 picks.
Okay.
But I like this kid. I think he's going to be a very good NFL player.
Do you think he could drop to 25? Do you think it's possible?
When you say drop, I think he'll be there at 25.
Oh, you think he'll be there at 25? Yeah.
Yes, I think he'll be there at 25.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think that's a very distinct possibility that he could be there at 25. Even though his stock did rise after the combine. Because I think a lot of people had him in the second round before.
Yes, they did. I think he was a second rounder before the combine. I think he now is a late first rounder. Yes.
Yeah. I'd be very happy with him.
Well, it's funny because we keep going over these guys, and we recognize the talent. But I got to see these mock drafts to see where they're kind of allowing some of these guys to go. That's one thing I do better homework-wise, is kind of figuring out, where we're putting these guys in the draft, because at first I'm like, hey, if this guy falls to 2, great. But if you guys are like, he's not going the second round, you kidding me? Then I got to look back at the talent. Because, again, I mean, we're making it seem like all these guys might just be available to us.
Spawn, what's really ironic, this was a very good combine. A lot of positions did very well in the combine. So, I'm sure a lot of these mock drafts are now shifting all these guys around. There are guys who weren't even thought about being a late first or an early second. I'm now there. So it's going to be interesting. And again, we're going to see talent in the second round that we thought would be taken in the first round. It's going to happen. It always does.
For sure. Hey, real quick, Mark, we got something in comments for you, Tudo, Spartan. Would you please forward our respects to Mark? It's been a while, and I didn't recognize him. My apologies, please.
Oh, no problem, Tudo. I did see your comment in the session there, so definitely I understood. No problem. That's cool. Hopefully your recovery is going well.
Comments all the time. And then, of course, we got Tommy G in here. Tommy, dude, always love when you come through, man. Always part of the family. Love that you're taking off, man. Always great. Hit the follow button if anybody here doesn't follow him. Rob, welcome to the show, man. Always good to have you too. All right, so how about let's go back to the SEC now. Emmanuel Forbes. Tell me about this guy, Mississippi State.
Yeah, so he's someone who probably won't. I don't see him as a first round guy. Definitely, maybe he may be second, but more third round, I think. Anyway, but definitely not first round. He actually used to play wide receiver, which probably helps him. He is good at press coverage, definitely. Good. I mean, just looking at my notes here. Good at both man and zone. Physical tackler. Very sure in his tackling and very physical in his tackling. He can be a little bit grabby, but I guess because it's wide receiver experience, he's got 5-6 receptions, I think, during his last year. So he's interception. Yeah, he's had 5 or 6 interceptions.
I think it's 6 this year.
Something like that. Yeah. So he's got quite a few. So he's a ball hawk from that perspective. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and even when I say he's not a first rounder, but he's still a really good player. So Heck, I mean, if this is the kind of quality you're going to get down the second and third round, I mean, you really can't go wrong, right? So again, technique is the issue here. All the physical skills are there, ability to understand what's going on wrong and see what's going on, react. He's good. He's a really good player.
And again, I mean, that's what we like to hear, technique. But this is one of those positions where a lot of the times, legit starting cornerbacks get taken in the second, third, sometimes even fourth or fifth round. Sure. I mean, look, Patrick Sherman, perfect example. Or Richard Sherman. Sorry, I said Pat. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
I mixed Patrick Peterson and Richard Sherman together, but
it might be a good play if you did that, right? You mix them up.
Yeah, that would be good. That would definitely be a good football player, no doubt. But Again, sometimes things with cornerbacks, I mean, here's a very dependent position. I mean, let's say you're a very talented cornerback, but you're going to a school that doesn't have a very good defensive coordinator and is not utilizing you properly, right? These things will show out over time. If you go to the NFL, you get drafted in the third and you have the athletic means, you can become a very good cornerback. So that's why, this is one position I get super excited about, even if we're drafting a guy on day 2 or 3,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing with Forbes is that he's kind of thin. I think he's 166 pounds. That's what they report. I don't know what his actual weight is. So maybe that could be the reason why he's being pushed back a little bit in the projections. But he's a willing tackler, like Mark says. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there. But I think that's the only reason why I think you're seeing him possibly going somewhere mid to late second day.
Yeah, and the other thing, I see some places there say he's 180. I don't know if he's 180, if he's 166, who knows? But they're also projecting him maybe as a nickel, possibly. I mean, he has the attitude of an outside corner, but because of his frame, they may force him to play nickel. I think that's part of the thing there.
Yeah, I think he had the second fastest time at the combine.
He's pretty quick. I don't remember what that time. Yeah, what DJ
4,
Turner was like
4.3.
Yeah.
DJ Turner has a fastest. I think DJ Turner did a 4.26, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 4.26.
And this kid did a 4.31 or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. So.
Well, the next guy we got to cover, I mean, this is a guy that's actually going number 1 on some draft boards in terms of cornerbacks, although it's all over the place. I mean, the corners, where they're going to fall, the top guys are a little bit everywhere, but here's a dude that's been impressing a lot of guys, Christian Gonzalez, and I actually think that might be the toughest conference in football to play cornerback in just because of how much they are passing and the various athletes they have to play against. What were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I like him the most of all the ones I'm talking about, to be honest with you. I think he is really he can do anything. I mean, look at his size, 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, he's almost like perfect. He's been a starter for a while at Oregon. Good in press man, good in zone, can tackle, good with flipping his hips, sinking his hips. He's very smooth with that. He understands route concepts, and he's top in my opinion. I really like him the best of all these corners. I mean, but there's not a lot of separation between them, but I really like him a lot.
Sure. Truth, I mean, were you a fan of this guy too? Truth, just out of curiosity.
Oh, I mean, I concur with what Mark said. He can arguably be taken before Witherspoon. So I think this kid has the complete package, and Giant fans may not want to hear this, but he could go to the Eagles. With that first pick the Eagles have. So
I don't want to hear that. God.
They might need to replace Bradbury there, so that makes sense.
Would make perfect sense. Crap! Now I'm kind of pissed. There's so many good cornerbacks. The Eagles have options here. Hey,
the rich get richer, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, as if they need any talent at this point. Real quick, Truth. There's a question in here. We're not covering him anymore. He's one of the guys that you needed me to place out. We have so many cornerbacks to go over. But Darius asked, what's your opinion on Jacorian Bennett? You did a little analysis of him, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, look, you talked about how Maryland, you're looking at pretty two darn good cornerbacks from Maryland. I believe he plays Maryland along with Banks. I mean, that's a pretty good duo on that team in that conference. The kid had a really good combine, and believe it or not, he made. I think I talked about last week, Spartan, about the freak list with the guy's name is Bruce Feldman. He has a freak list out of all the prospects, top 100, and this kid made the 60th.
Wow.
On that list. And that's always based on their strength, the athletic ability. He ran 22.9 miles per hour, which is like a 4.3, low 4.3s. And I think he had a good broad jump. I'm looking over here, 42. He had a 42 vertical, which is pretty darn good. So that always indicates that they can get off the ball quick with that burst. And he tracks the ball well. He's a good player. He can play either man or coverage. So I like Mark says, these guys all can tackle. They're all good and physical players. You could put him in a package of blitzing, and he'll do well in that.
Sure.
So here's a kid that could probably be there late on day 2, early mid day 3, and he's a quality cornerback to get on your roster with depth. Nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's another good guy. Absolutely. I mean, his Banks was what he ran his 4.45 or something like that. There, he was pretty quick too.
Yeah. I mean, he's a little small, Bennett. I think he's like stocky, 5'10", 188.
Mm-hmm.
If he's that, he's a little short, but he can play. Good instinct. So that's a good call there, Darius. Good call.
Similar to Illinois, Maryland had one of those years. It's pretty impressive. They usually suck in the Big Ten. They won 8 games this year, and they did give Ohio State and Michigan a lot of trouble. They almost beat Michigan. Ohio State, they would have been very unlikely, but they did give them a lot of hell. And a big reason was because of their secondary, similar to Illinois.
Yeah.
Real quick, James Green. Now, he's a Bills fan, but we always welcome when opposing fans are in the house. James Green, show.
He's like a brother to us. Come on.
Bill. He's like a boss, I'd say.
Bills.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, Truth. Now we're on to the list of guys that you wanted to cover. Kelee Ringo, man. Tell me about this guy.
Well, man, this guy, he's got size. He's got speed. He comes from a very good and a good team that plays in probably the best conference in college football. Kelee Ringo is a stud. I think he's a stud. I think he's a banger. I think he could play both man and play zone. And here's another guy who could be there, depending on what teams do in the first 20 picks. He could be in that area if the Giants want to go that route. The guy knows how to win. He's a good player. I like him.
For sure.
Yeah, he can definitely drop to us number 25. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, good size, as Truth said, really good size. 6'2", 200 pounds, 205 pounds. I mean, speed, man. Yeah, he's pretty decent in zone. Pretty decent in man. He's better in zone. That's the only thing I would say. But he's pretty decent in man. So that's it.
Yeah, a strong possibility of being there for us. Kind of guy I think Wink would like. Kind of corner I think Wink would like to have.
You for sure first round guy. I mean, Georgia guys are all over the place this year.
I think so. I think he's a first rounder.
Okay. All right. We're about to come through another series of 2 guys that played on the same team together. So the first Cam Smith out of South Carolina.
Yeah, he's a solid another solid player from South Carolina. He had a good year this year. Everything I've seen, I've watched tape on him, good instincts, and we're going to sound like we're repeating ourselves. I know Mark mentioned that earlier. A lot of these guys are like mirror images. They're very instinctive. They're very aggressive. They like to hit. And Cam Smith is no exception. He has very good high football IQ. That's what I've been reading about him. So he's able to read the play and be able to anticipate well. So here's a kid who has pretty good size, right? 6 foot, around 190, 195. Extremely athletic, pretty quick. And here's another guy who is, in my mind, a mid to late first round pick.
So, okay. Here's the thing. I always get a little confused. When I see 2 guys that played at the same school together, it's always a little bit in the back of my mind is, all right, who's being relied upon here to cover wide receiver 1? And between him and the next guy, Darius Rush, what is it, Truth? What's the situation here?
Well, I mean, I've watched some film on both these guys, and I got to be honest with you, I wasn't watching to see if they were covering the number 1 guy on the other team, but I did see them play on each side. They didn't stay on one side, the other guy stay on the other side. They did move around. So that could have been reason why they were responsible covering the number one receiver. Darius Rush is a sound player. He had a great senior week.
Yes.
That kid, and that's where he got noticed big time. And I think his stock has been climbing ever since. And he's another one with good size, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look him up again.
Yeah, he's about 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's a little bigger.
6'2", thereabouts. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got good size, and again, here's a guy like all these guys. You could put him in a blitz package. You can let him be creative, and he would be a very good piece for the secondary for your team. And again, here's a kid who I think will be like a late day 2 pick. I don't see he's not going to be a first rounder, but I see a late day 2 pick with him, which is not bad. I mean, a lot of talent in this group.
Let me ask something. He weighs 200 pounds and he's got a cut 6-pack. How come I weigh 200 pounds and I have love handles? What's
You're built differently. So.
I guess so. Of course, it probably has to do with dieting and nutrition as well. But
something like that.
Something like that. But I'm not a doctor, so what do I know?
I just want to add something on the
Sure.
on Rush. He's seen more like a zone guy as opposed to that seems more his strength than the man coverage. But
I think that's how South Carolina plays.
Yeah, that's how they play, right? So, but that's what I was going to say. So, but you never know. You get again with the right coaching, the right system, and
Sure.
hey, it just So what seemed like that was the strength or weakness, it doesn't. It's no more. But I think the main thing is these guys got a lot of speed. They're fluid. They can really move really well, and and they're quick. So so once they got the smarts on top here, I mean anything is possible.
The ability to turn quickly is the biggest challenge, right? There's some guys that are able to run in a straight line very effectively. But what really makes these cornerbacks special is how quickly they can maneuver their bodies and continue in those lines. Because, I mean, I'd have to imagine, no knock to receivers, that it's easier to run a wide receiver route than to cover a person who's running at you doing a receiver route. They're facing the opposite direction a lot of times.
Yeah, so the guys who can spot the routes and run the routes for the wide receiver are the best ones, right? Because they're then not looking to just mirror the wide receiver. They're looking to be the receiver, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you watch the combine, boy, did they all do well in that drill, showing how quick they can turn their hips and then go full speed, if on a vertical pass or something. Very impressive. I really enjoyed watching the cornerbacks in this combine this year.
Sure. I'm with you. What about this next guy? I don't like the school that he went to, but
well, here's the fastest corner in the combine right here. DJ Turner, not very big, 5'11" by 180, soaking wet possibly, but he's a good player. Here's another kid that make the freak list. He actually was number 31 on the list, so that's pretty impressive. He's in the top 30 based on his speed, based on his strength, and what he can do when you get in the combine. Another kid who's, even though he's not very big, he likes to play physical. He's not afraid to stick his head in there. So that's something you like to see when you're a defensive coordinator. And another kid who can actually play in a blitz. You can move him around. He's a quality player. Could argue if he's a little weaker in zone or in man-to-man. I don't like to be picky on that. I really don't. I think a lot of these guys are going to change their game dramatically when they get schooled and coached in the NFL level. So I'm not too worried. They're just great athletes. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, that point is taken. I don't know what they're putting in the food with these corners because they're coming aggressive, man. I don't know what they're eating. They're coming aggressive.
I don't know.
Guys, they can tackle. They're aggressive.
They must have had a giant conference of cornerback or defensive coaches from the 70s and 80s and say get together and it's like, guys, we're getting this game back going, because if there's one thing that pisses a guy like Carl Banks off, it's how bad the tackling has become in football. And to give up 3 yards after you already make that initial contact is so frustrating, and sometimes leads to that first down, which leads to these touchdowns. So if we can improve that would be great. But like looking at the cornerbacks and the safeties this year gives me that hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Giants have 7 picks just on day 3. And I firmly believe they're going to pick at least a corner in the first 4 picks. And so they can easily pick a safety and a corner on day 3.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. And they're going to be pretty talented, these guys. It's so deep. We're not going to even come close to covering some of the talent in the corner position. I know, Spartan, you're going to have a few guys, but we're not going to – there's so many guys that we're not able to cover. And you're going to be very surprised with this class when they play there after that first year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this might be it. It might be like 07 draft the linemen, 2011 with their the wide receivers. I mean, I truly think it's going to be like that. 04 with quarterbacks, right? We
might find. I was going to say we might find that with all the compensatory picks we may have like down in round 7 and so forth, that we might, because the cornerback class is so deep, that we might get down there and pick cornerback, but they're really good at special teams, and we might find some special team solutions in terms of returners and so forth at that point of the draft. You never know. I think that might be something that would be worth looking at.
Absolutely.
With the corners, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, one of the guys I'm covering was a special teamer at Miami. I'll get to him in a minute, but did you guys notice, were you guys taking note, did any of these other guys return? Did anyone do that?
I don't think the guys I covered did any kind of special team returns. No.
Witherspoon's a good special teams. He's a good special teams player, but not just Witherspoon.
For sure. Truth. Last one, Jaylon Jones.
Okay. Hey, solid player, and here's a kid, good size, like 6'2", 200 pounds, and he can actually play safety as well. So he's got versatility, and you know what? You never know. He may end up being a safety in the NFL. It all depends what team takes him and what kind of system they have, but he could definitely still play cornerback. Got long arms, and he's good instincts with the football. Again, we're going to sound like a broken record. Plays a little physical, likes to attack, especially in run support, and he's a good player. He's a good player. I could definitely see him going like late third round, maybe early 4th.
We might sound like a broken record, but I guess when we're going over these guys, it's more about what can't they do? Like we're almost looking for, in our heads, it's like, what are the perfect quarterback, man, zone, they can accomplish that. We look for those things like the footwork, the inability to turn.
Yeah.
So we sound like a broken record, but that's only because the class is so deep.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not perfect, these guys, not by any means, but I think a lot of the things that they need to work on is very coachable. And I think they're all going to, once they get the speed of the game down and they get a little comfortable in their surroundings, they're gonna be good football players, these guys.
For sure.
Now you mentioned Jaylon Jones here, and you mentioned in the context that he could be a safety. You guys covered what's the name? Brian Branch, right? Right. I mean, he's someone that has some flexibility there too. I mean, I know you covered it on the safety, but I mean, some people look at him that he could play. He can play corner, probably more slot corner than anything else. But people do look at that. I mean, So he's a pretty strong candidate as well. I think I just thought I would mention him in that context as well.
Well, it's got to be mentioned. I mean, especially if there's like an issue where there's a depth problem, right? I mean, the Giants have had series of injuries where we get plagued in a certain spot. You want that guy that can transition to another position if we need them to, right?
Julian Love, right?
Julian Love,
right? And also, Mark, I mentioned this to Spartan last week. There are a couple of cornerbacks that we're not going to mention in this draft that are very big men. They're 220 plus. Mm-hmm. And, they run a 4.5 plus. So, it will probably be in their best interest to move to safety at the NFL level because they do play very physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It's a deep class.
For sure. I'm going to go on to my guys right now. So the first, I'm only doing 3 right now. I'm going to do rapid fire. I know we're kind of getting to the end of the podcast here. But yeah, the first guy I want to go over is Tyrique Stevenson. So yeah, he's one of those guys that is a special teamer in terms of the fact that he was a return specialist in Miami, and he was phenomenal. He had that athletic ability. Now, I don't think they should draft him because of it. What I like about him, his press coverage is extremely good. And the one thing that he does better than other players, when it comes to zone, sometimes it's the play recognition that is his problem. I think, that goes into technique a little bit, and that could be worked on. That's the one area that I worry about with this guy. His acceleration when the ball is in the air and he's going to where it is, even if he is not covering the right receiver, he gets over there very quickly. And that's one thing that, I don't really see too often. Obviously, within reason. He's not going to run to the other side of the field, but he does a good job of releasing off the man that he's assigned to, going to where the ball is going, even when in man coverage. And that's one of the things that he does that's super impressive. He's one of those guys that could even transition to free safety, in my opinion, because he does it so well. So, there's definitely some value add there. Don't know where he's going to fall in the draft, but he's one of those players that I thought was incredible. I don't know if you guys have any other takes on him.
Yeah, Mark, if you do.
No, well, I know. I mean, he had a really good Senior Bowl. I mean, and definitely helped his stock right there. I think, I think I see him I don't know if he'll get into the 3rd round. I kind of see him maybe early day 3, possibly.
Yeah,
but he could. But that's where I see him. So I do like that versus. I like the thought about the safety position there. I mean, he's a big guy, as you said, and but he's not as fluid as some of the other guys in terms of flipping his hips and that sort of thing.
He's not. He's
right.
Not.
So from that perspective, I could see where the playing free safety could really be helpful.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple routes that are a little bit challenging for him. Again, he's. I mean, when it's the right one, when it's pretty straight out, he's pretty good. But it's something that he's not perfect. But again, if you're getting a return specialist out of this, no reason they wouldn't be a good day 3 pick. Next guy that I want to go over is, it's rare to see some of these New York guys on the list. Thousands under Coughlin. I mean, you used to, if a guy went to Syracuse or Boston College, forget about it. They would get drafted by the Giants immediately.
Yeah.
So obviously things have changed a little bit. We don't really quite have those ties, but Garrett Williams was a very impressive player on another team that showed out this year that's not typically very good. So what he does very special is he has a sphere, what I want to call a sphere of defendability. When he's covering the guy, again, he's not one of those guys that's that great at keeping the hips, mirroring the motions, but his jumping ability is phenomenal, and he does a very good job. If the ball is too high, you think it's going to go over his head, or if it's too low, too far to the right, the ball's dead. He does a very good job of making an effort to either deflect the ball or intercept the ball. He's phenomenal at this, more so than anybody else on the list, in my opinion. He's very good at covering extremely fast receivers. And again, we got another guy that's very willing to make tackles. He does a good job of covering or tackling wide receivers in the flats. Another issue of the Giants.
Right, open field tackling, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Only a minor dent. I'm not going to hold on to too much because this happens. Quarterback opponents sucked. Not many highlights against bad quarterbacks. I feel like the problem is when you're watching, and this is why it's critical to watch full game tape. When you watch some of his better plays, it's a situation where a ball got tipped by a receiver that didn't catch it. The quarterback threw a dink. And so some of his best plays are not that translatable to the NFL, in my opinion. But again, the biggest struggle he has as a player is mirroring the players and staying close. And he doesn't have that ability to accelerate as much as a guy like Tyrique Stevenson does. Don't know if you guys have anything else that you want to add. Obviously, I see Syracuse on the list. I'm like, come on, got to have one.
No, I think he's a good quality player. I think he'll add a good depth. Whoever picks him at cornerback and also special teams, I think he's a solid NFL player who can contribute to a roster. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's spot on. Yeah.
For sure. Hey, last guy I have on the list here, Travius Hodges. 1 second. He played at TCU. Again, another excellent player, played for his phenomenal team that had an outstanding year. One of the most aggressive corners I've seen in a while. Obviously, we have a lot of guys on the list that are a little bit better at it, but he's very good at that. Great at batting down the ball, finding his way to the ball. Midfield coverage, phenomenal. That's almost a specialty. Some of his weaknesses, he has to be careful about his head. He's going to get pass interference calls with the way that he covers way too often. He is not turning his head to look at the ball. And then his jumping ability is just, it's not really there. He's athletic when it comes to a certain degree with cornerback, but the one thing he can't really do is, make a reach for the ball. If he's off the guy, he's not going to be able to get to the ball very effectively if he's off by 2 or 3 yards.
Well, I think he's related to LaDainian Tomlinson, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's got a double barrel name. It's Hodges Tomlinson.
Right. I thought that's what it was. He is. I think he's. I think to add what Spartan said about the penalties, I think that happens a lot because he does lack size. I mean, they say he's about 5'7".
Yeah, he's short.
And that could be stretching.
5'9" or 5'8".
5'9". 5'9".
5'9". Okay, because
probably related to Tomlinson. I don't know to what degree. Oh, nephew. He's the nephew of LaDainian.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the lack of height, length could be a problem in the NFL for him definitely as a starter. I don't know how well he plays. I didn't watch a lot of tape on him, so I'm not gonna lie. Can he play slot? Can he cover slot wide receivers? Did he cover him at TCU? I don't know. So I have to look more on him to see what he does.
Yeah, he did. He covered slot receivers. Like one thing that he's good at that I actually could see him transitioning to a little bit in the NFL is actually strong safety. He did a good job of tight end coverage. Again, shorter routes seemed to be something that he was a little bit more advantageous at. But again, played on a very talented defense. It was a big impact on that team. Later rounds, no doubt about it, but phenomenal player overall.
Yeah. Very quick.
For sure. But guys, look, that is the list of all the dudes that we want to cover. We got some talent in this draft. We absolutely do. Mark,
yeah.
I do have to ask you something. This is one question. This year at the Super Bowl, they had Rihanna at the halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
Barbados born, right?
Yes, Barbados born, absolutely.
And so Barbados only has, you guys have a population under 300,000 people, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, just about that, just under that, yeah.
Gotcha. That's less than 300,000 people. Did you know her or her family by any chance, or I mean, is it just too many degrees of separation?
I do know her. I do know one of her uncles. But I don't know her specifically. I can't say, but know people around her. Yeah, I mean, it's a major story. It's a phenomenal story, really. From her humble beginnings to where she's at is amazing, to be honest with you. And so watching that halftime show was quite a good feeling. You can imagine for a whole bunch of Barbadians watching that. Yeah.
Should be very proud. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you feel kind of close to it. So that's a big deal. I mean, Rihanna's a big deal, and she's doing a lot of good work, and not just. I mean, she is doing work around the world, but she does give back to Barbados. She's doing stuff, and she does it quietly too. You don't. If you don't know about it, you don't know about it. But it's so she's doing some good stuff.
She never stirs up too much controversy in the media. You hardly ever hear about it. And she got famous. I mean, she did the show. She's still very young. She's in her early 30s, but she got big when I was in middle school, so she was probably only 18, 19 years old. And look, we're men that love football, right? We may not be the demographic that would go to her concert, of course. But definitely seeing that on the stage. And when I saw her, like, the first thing I thought was, oh yeah, Mark from Barbados. I mean, again, small island. What an incredible story out of her. And now, it's in the sphere of football, so it's definitely something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, no, I've seen her a couple of times. I saw her when just after she had the umbrella hit, she did a concert in Barbados, and I saw that. But before she even really made it, I saw her in concert up and coming in St. Lucia.
Wow.
Yeah, St. Lucia Jazz Festival is a festival I used to go to every year, and she was there, and I met her and all that. But that was before she made it big. ironically, Ciara, who was married to Russell Wilson, was also performing at that same St. Lucia Jazz Festival, believe it or not.
No
So,
kidding.
yeah, no kidding. they both performed at the same festival. And but no, I mean, Rihanna is phenomenal from not just, I mean, the music part is a small part. Most of her success is outside of the music, you know. I mean, maybe 20% is the music, is the wealth. But I mean, the clothes, the lingerie, the makeup, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, so I mean, she hasn't done anything. She hasn't done any. I mean, hardly any new music. She's done stuff for Black Panther, the theme song, and a couple of songs here and there. But she hasn't done a full-fledged album in a while. So
yeah, it seems like she's gravitated to acting more.
That too, she's doing that as well.
Yeah, I just looked it up. She's worth $1.4 billion.
That's correct.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
I think that's more than Jay-Z. I think that actually might be more than him.
Yeah, it's probably about it's like maybe 200,000 to 300,000 is from music.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't heard now.
300, not 200,000, 300 million. Sorry.
Sure, some chump change, right? Just
yeah.
mere minor amount. But yeah, no, incredible story. But Mark, look, I mean, we're going to send out the invites to everybody. Will you be there for our live draft show when we do that again? Because we know you're there.
Absolutely. If you want me, I'm happy to be there. Absolutely.
You kept us company last year. The show went on forever for that second night. You actually came back and you're like, I'm coming back, guys. You look bored.
That was a long night. That really was.
Even Craig came in. Craig wasn't supposed to be on that night. He just hopped in. He's like, screw it, I'm joining.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were entertaining ourselves, Mark. I was helping Spot with his grip, his golf swing.
Yeah, that's a long Friday. There's no doubt about it. That second night of the draft.
So I know you want to close off the show, Mike, but I mean, are we gonna just close off the show, say nothing about the signing of Jones or anything like that?
Let's bring it up right now. We got to do it, and we'll break this down because this is not the main night for talking about this.
Yes,
that would have been last night, but screw it. We can't wait 6 days. Let's talk about Daniel Jones. I'm going to give you my immediate thoughts. Then I want to hear you, Mark. Then I want to hear you, Truth. Okay. I think the contract's fantastic. I wanted to bring back Daniel Jones because he's a good quarterback. He's not a bridge. Whoever's saying that's a bunch of BS. He is better than that. Do I think he's Patrick Mahomes? I do not. I would love to see what he can do when we finally add that extra wide receiver. I think he will get to the next level. But if he doesn't, let's just say that he regresses, he stagnates, or whatever, he gets hurt. This is a contract with how we dealt it. That the Giants can get out of, and it's not that inescapable. The guaranteed money is not that bad. And again, the cap space is going up pretty shortly here, so it won't even be that much of an impact for years to come. I like it. I'm very happy with the news. And we got to tag Saquon, too. I got a little worried about that one. With 2 minutes left, they were able to scramble and tag him. So, Mark, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not going to repeat what you said, but what I am going to say, because I agree with what you said, what I am going to say is that we can't have it both ways. We can't have say we love our coach and we love our GM, and they're the ones who did not pick up the fifth-year option. If they're the ones who did not pick up the fifth-year option, and now they're saying, look, we want this guy, then it has to mean a lot because they have no ties to him at all.
Right.
And if we think they're good and they want to work with him, then there's something to be said for that. So I think if in the first year of this new system he performed that way, with the team around him in that way, I think hopefully we should see an upward trend. So I am all in. I mean, I'm not saying they're not perfect, could make a mistake, but on the basis of the evidence so far, let's go. I mean, 40 million. I mean, that Prescott had 40 million 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
his worst game, Dak's worst games are awful. I mean, he has 4 games a year where he just completely falls apart. Jones doesn't have that.
No,
absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, look, I think you brought up Prescott. I think his game is treading on the downside, and I think Jones is treading on the upside.
Right.
Like you both said, I think this kid, Joe Shane, is going to get talent around him. He's going to get a number 1 wide receiver. He's going to get probably another wide receiver. He's going to add, I think, a tight end. He's going to get better linemen. He's going to add talent around this kid. And I get tired of the people talking about he only had 15 touchdowns this year. He had no one to throw to for more than half the season. He had nobody, and he had to run. He had to run, and the Giants knew that.
And he did. He ran and got 8 extra touchdowns, so it's really 23. And again, the Giants run a lot in the red zone, which they show with a running back like Saquon Barkley.
Of course, exactly. You got a stud like Saquon, you got to use him. I think the Giants. I think that it was a very good signing, and like you both said, it's a friendly contract, and the Giants are moving in the right direction, unlike previous seasons and years. I think Giants fans should really relax and just trust Joe Schoen because he is doing a great job. Give him a few drafts under his belt. You're going to see these guys prosper, and this team is going to be a good team.
Agreed.
They're going to be a good team, good enough in a couple of years. They're going to be owning that division. And if any Philly fans are listening, it's too bad. They're going to be owning that division in a couple of years.
That's
Philly's
right.
Philly's going to have their own problems with keeping people.
Oh, they're already having their own problems with keeping people. Of course, they have draft picks because of those ridiculous trades they do. But, they're when that cap space goes up and it's Hurts time to shine for the contract world, good luck.
Oh, that's going to be big. Yeah, $50 million plus, right?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be more. Yeah, it's $50 million. I mean,
yeah. He's going to take him to cleaners.
Yep.
So $40 million is going to be like,
yeah, $40 million by next year is going to be nothing. We're going to be so happy. People who
it's only 19 next year guarantee or as a cap hit. So we got to wait with that one scot free pretty much.
Yeah. So Giant fans, any doubters out there, man, just let Joe Schoen do his job. He's doing a good job, and the Giants are going to win, and they're going to be a good team for years to come. They're going to be a good team.
Anything else, guys? Cornerbacks. We got a couple options, and I guarantee you almost that we are going to walk away with one.
I say 2 cornerbacks in this draft. 2.
I agree with that too.
All right. Well, guys, look, first of all, Mark, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We can't wait to have you back on the show for the draft talk. Always appreciate you when you're on the show. Bring some clearly you spent some time breaking down a lot of these players, so it's always great having you. And then Truth, another great episode, my friend.
Yeah, I had a great time. Always talking draft is great. And Mark, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And to all the fans that tuned in, thank you. Couldn't thank you guys enough. All right, guys. Take care. Adios. Have a good evening.
All right, boys. Stay well.